Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're talking about fighters that debuted in the UFC in 2025. First, we have Austin Bashi debuting against Christian Rodriguez, lost a unanimous decision. Obviously, every single one of the fighters that I have today lost by decision, or not decision, Jesus Christ, lost their UFC debut. So Austin Bashi just got announced. Actually, he's fighting some 9-3 fighter. Do some more research on him here in a little while when I do that fight. But yeah, Austin Bashi lost his debut. Fun fight, good style. I like his grappling a ton. He's very, very young at only 23. He'll be 24 2 days after my birthday. Same birthday as my daughter. But either ways. But yeah, Austin Bashi, I do like a lot. Very curious to see where he goes from that first loss. Let's get into the second guy. Second fighter is Nicole Collery. We've seen her twice in the UFC. She lost her debut against, what is that name? Ernesta Caracati. Hopefully that's correct. We've seen 2 fights from her. She also lost her debut. And actually, Carly Judas beat her up even worse just a couple weekends ago. Really, really beat her up. So that was interesting. But she lost a split decision in her debut. And yeah, I think this is actually the same card that Austin Bashi fought on. So that's actually interesting. But yeah, 0-2 in the UFC. Not great. She might not fight again. But she is number 2 on this list. Let's get to the third. Number 3 on the list is Billy Elinkana. Just defeated Ibo Aslan by a 3-round decision. Looked decent, actually, in the Guskov fight. Dominated the whole first round. Got submitted in the second round over halfway through the second. But looked good in the first. Took the fight on short notice. Decent record as well. 8-2. He has been finished one time by sub. He's 30 years old. I think he's going to do something special in this division, light heavyweight. I don't think he'll be in the top 10 per se, but I think he can actually make it to the top 15. Might be a little bit of a oversay, but I like Billy. I think he did pretty good against Ibo, who's all right. But yeah, Billy Elinkana is your number 3 on the list. Let's go to number 4. Number 4 is Cody Steele. Had a really tough UFC debut against Rong Zhu. Got absolutely beat up and hurt a few times. He looked not good in that fight. Still has potential, but he's 30 years old, so it's either now or never. I don't think he gets to the top 15, but he will have some fun fights in the UFC. Also lost his UFC debut, though. Let's keep it rolling. Number 5 on the list is Jordan Santos. Middleweight, 27 years old. He'll be 28 here in a few days. Fought Ozzy Diaz in his debut and absolutely lost. Back and forth fight. Possibly that he got fight in the night. I'm not really for sure at this point. But a lot of fun. There is a lot of openings in his game. Jesus Christ, I knew I was going to say that stupid word. But game. But Jordan Santos lost in his UFC debut as well. Looked good in the fight, though. Had good moments. But let's get to number 6, I believe it is. 6? Number 7, I believe it is. Another fighter that lost their UFC debut. Dair Nurigeze. Dair. Also, Brenson Roberio got submitted in the second round before the halfway mark. 10-1. 28 years old. I like the guy. I don't really know where his ceiling is at all, to be honest. I think he could either be top 15 or like top 20. But again, I don't really know where to go with him because he doesn't really... Losing to Roberio makes that really, really hard because Roberio is not very good. I really hope Dair can figure it out. Actually has a fight scheduled against Yoran Baldiev. So let's see what happens. But Dair is another fighter on this list that lost their UFC debut. Next fighter on the list absolutely is Josias Musasa. fighting out of the Republic of Congo. Bantamweight 8-1, was submitted by Carlos Vera just under 3 minutes and 30 seconds in the first round. A lot of hype going on this guy. You know, he looked okay in the split decision win in the Contender Series, but going against an older fighter in Carlos Vera, who's 37, he'll be 38 years old in November. You know, got caught with a head kick, I believe it was, and then submitted. But, yeah, I mean, a lot of potential in this guy, fighting Colby Thicknessy. I think that's how you say that last name, not really for sure, but who just fought the Topuria brother. I actually was more impressed with Thicknessy than I was with the Topuria brother, but whatever. Josiah Basasa, I think the sky's the limit for that guy. I think he's 26, he'll be 27 in October. I'm very, very curious on this next fight and see how he really performs. I'm very interested in this guy. But next fighter. Next fighter is actually a female fighter, another one, Yanesi Dubin, who fought Carly Judas and got absolutely destroyed by a head kick. I was really hoping they were actually going to have the freaking knockout. Let me see. Does it actually have it? It's latest. That's a liver shot. That's not what I wanted. But, let me see if... Andre Lima, Dubin. Victory by kick. Okay, so it's not going to have that. Okay. Anyways, had a big highlight reel knockout against, in the Contender Series. What's her name? Stephanie Clark? Shannon Clark. That's what it was. Absolutely flatlined her in that matchup. But fought Carly Judas. I thought Carly Judas actually beat Gabriela Fernandez as well. But anyways, Carly Judas head kicked her, destroyed her, finished her very early in the round, under a minute 40, or at a minute 40. Yeah, she did not look very good. But she's fighting again. She's fighting Kennedy Freeman. So we will see how that fight goes in Paris, France. Okay, very interesting. Next we have Andrei Puliev. He fought CLD in his debut and lost a decision. Did not look very good at all in that fight. Thought he looked pretty good in the Anderson fight on the Contender Series. Looked good against Wilson Oliveira. He's not 0-1. I don't know why it's showing that, but okay. He looked pretty good in that matchup. In the Anderson and Contender Series decision. But CLD just clinched with them, beat him up, was more tactical, hurt him a couple of times. Nick Klein and him is going to be an interesting matchup. I'm very curious. Puliev 3 inches taller. But there's not really much to say because he fought like shit against Duncan, who is just the more technical kickboxer, when on paper Puliev should have done a lot better than he did. So that one's a tough one. Now he's fighting a grappler. Let's see what happens. Next we have Daniel Frunza fought fought Reese McKee. I don't know why he did that, what it was doing there for. Lost a doctor stoppage at the end of the first round. Looked really good on his Contender Series fight. Just, I believe, got hurt really early. Did good recovering when he was hurt by Reese McKee. Actually came back a few times. His combinations looked decent as the fight went on. First time he had been TKO'd, but he had been subbed twice before then. Only 31 years old, which I like. I'm very curious to see what he does coming back. But Reese McKee kind of had his number in that matchup when Reese McKee absolutely needed a win. I had a lot of high hopes for him in that debut, but again, didn't win it. So, on to the next. Next is Yoran Salty Baldiev, 9-1, lost the decision against Martin Buday in his UFC debut. Looked good in the LFA, the fight before submission Kimura. Defended the title, but he's actually fighting Dair, which I talked about a little earlier in the video. He's only 30 years old to be 31 in a couple of days, about a week or so. I like this guy. I thought he looked pretty good. He had moments against Boudet, especially later in the fight. Actually hurt Boudet really bad in that fight. Just kind of got stuck against the cage, like he did in that fight. But I think there's a lot of potential for this guy, especially in the light heavyweight division when it kind of needs it. So I do like him. I'm very curious to see what he does next in his next matchup against Dair. So let's see what happens. Next is Gage Young. Gage Young, 9-3, has been submitted one time, lost his debut against Evan Elder. I believe it was also short notice, so a little bit tough there. Looked really good in his Fighting Allowance Championship matchup against, what is that, Eric? Yep, Eric Grant, who's 0-1. He's not 0-1. What are we talking about here? But beat him by TKO, lost to Quinn Salkild, lost a decision to him where he looked actually pretty good. Gage Young actually looked decent in the Evan Elder matchup, but he lost a decision. Now he's fighting. I thought he was fighting. Yeah, he's announced with somebody else. I guess they don't have it up here, but I like Gage Young. I think his potential is probably top 15, top 17. I think that's as high as he's going to go. But on to the next. And next on the list is Kyle Prepolek. Lost. He's actually 0-3 in the UFC. Lost his debut against Nordine Taleb. Actually had a little bit of name to himself for a little bit while there. Kind of tapered out, but he was building a decent name. Actually lost to Kevin Lee as well. Lost to Nordine Taleb and Austin Hubbard. And then came back a little while later, 2019. And then he came back in 2025. So 6 years later, which he didn't have many fights for 6 years. Took 2 years off. 1 in 2021, 2 in 2022, 1 in 2023, 1 in 2024, and then 1 in 2025 so far. So actually 0-3 on this list. And lost his UFC debut against Nordine Taleb by decision. Has been submitted 3 times. Benoit Saint Denis, his most recent one, he was submitted under 2 minutes and 40 seconds in the second round. But he also lost his debut. On to the next. Back to the next fighter. Michael Aswell Jr. debuted against Balaj Oki. Fought on Dana White's Contender Series against Bogdan Gred. Lost a split decision. Fought one more time in Fury. Won that by split. And then fought Oki on short notice and lost a decision. Fun fight. Oki majority dominated the entire matchup. Couple good moments for Michael Aswell showing how tough he is. But I don't think 55 is actually his home. I think it should be 45 for the way he fights, for his frame. I just think he's going to have a hard time with those bigger lightweights. But either way, he lost his debut. Not too much to say about him. On to the next. Next fighter on the list is Mark Chiansky. Fought Markwell Maderos. Lost a decision. Got absolutely beat up in that fight, and it's not surprising to me. He hadn't really fought anybody proven. He hadn't fought anybody too good. Got beat up. Surprised he honestly survived. I did think he was going to be able to, but he's turning 30 in October. This is another guy where I don't think he's going to be the highly rated, highly ranked, but there is potential for him to have some fun fights. Either way, on to the next. On to the next one, and we are here. Tafik Masiev fought Orabai, where Orabai actually missed weight by 10 pounds, I think it was. Disgusting, to be honest. Disgusting. Either way, lost his debut, did Tafik Masiev. I was kind of a little bit surprised on this one. I thought he was going to do a little bit better. But again, Orabai was 10 pounds much, much bigger and much stronger than Masiev. You see Masiev in that matchup, and he did not look very big for 55. Kind of made you think, shit, he probably could make 45, to be honest, and probably do better. But the weight disadvantage definitely contributed. But the Kimura was very nice in his hometown. lost his debut. You know, it is what it is. On to the next. Next on the list is Alvin Hines. Fought Joanna Denise. And actually, Alvin surprised me in this one. I thought Denise did very well early in the fight, but Hines looked to be kind of getting beat up. He was very bloody. But by the third round, his cardio looked good. His movement looked decent. His striking's awful. He couldn't get a takedown. But his heart and determination actually kind of surprised me. I was impressed with Hines by the end of it. And once again, Denise shows how not really that good he is. It's just what it is. He's a better striker, and by the end of the fight, he wasn't really looking like the better striker. So tough one for sure. But Alvin Hines, I actually don't think he's. I know he says 265, but he probably could get down to light heavyweight. He probably could. He's not that big of a guy at all. Either way, lost his UFC debut. On to the next. Next on the list is Jackson McVeigh. Jackson McVeigh made his UFC debut against Bruno Ferreira on the UFC 318 card. Got absolutely destroyed in under 340 in the first round. Again, this is another guy that probably should not be fighting at middleweight. I think he should go down to 70. It might be hard for him because he's a skinny guy, but he did not look very good. He looked very, very weak against Bruno Ferreira. I know Bruno is strong, but McVeigh hadn't done anything in his regional scene besides be 6-0 against nobodies. Grappling is the only thing that McVeigh did okay at in the regional scene, and he looked like a baby against Bruno Ferreira. He just did not look good at all. Either way, on to the next. And last but not least, this is interesting. Marcus Buchecha, 5-2, 77-inch reach, 35 years old, 6'2", 254, fought Martin Buday. I said this fight was going to be a difficult one for him because Buday is very weird, and with the style that Buchecha has, it's a weird one. I thought Buchecha would be able to pull it off with a submission early, kind of a little bit of a toss-up there. But I did say Buday is going to make that fight very difficult, and he did. If you don't believe me, check out the live streams with No Chill. I talked about it. But he lost his UFC debut, also lost to the Kane fight. If you watched, I did a really, really good breakdown on this one on my channel. I really enjoyed what I was doing there. But, yeah, did not look very good in the Martin Buday fight. Just did not. Either way, that is all of the UFC fighters making their UFC debut that lost their debut. If you guys really enjoyed this, please smack that like button, subscribe, and I'll see you at the next one. Peace. Absolutely. And a peace.